Hello world. This is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake, coming to you with a new series focused on Alolan Ninetales. I recently updated my deck to use the same deck as the one that got top 8 in the North American International Championships, and it was already pretty close. It was like, I think I changed like 3 or 4 cards. So, with that, let's dig into the deck list. You can see I've won 28 out of 43 matches. That's actually not super indicative of what I've seen, just because I was playing a lot last night while watching TV and played late into the night, and it got to the point that I just was frustrated with bad matchups and just did lots of conceding because I just wanted to finish out the ladder. So um, prior to yesterday, I think this was like a 25 and this was like a 35. So, or no, it was even closer than that. But um, it was better than these numbers indicate. Anyway, all of that being said, still even at 28.43, that's a good 2/3, 66%. And let's look at the actual deck list. Okay, so here are the Pokemon. We have one copy of Sudowoodo, just to limit your opponent's bench. More often than not, you kind of have some extra bench space, so you can throw Sudowoodo in, and that'll mess with your opponent without really costing you too much. It can come in really clutch in certain matchups, obviously, if you're facing, like a Rainbow Road deck that's had a resurgence since the North American Championships, or Mega Rayquaza, or really just anything that wants all of their Pokemon out. This can muck up their plans a bit. You want to get it out early if you think you're in a matchup where it's going to matter, because you'd rather any of the Shaman and Lele's that they have to bench to count to not be able to be discarded. Then we have a Tapu Koko who's in here purely for his flying flip attack. We do play 4 copies of Double Colorless Energy, so it can go on to him. And the flying flip attack can pair well with Ninetales, although I don't use it all that much, but in certain situations it can be really good to just kind of add, the 20 or 40 extra damage across the field, making it easier to actually get a KO off of Ninetales' attack, because in some cases it's just a little short. We play a copy of Tapu Lele, 2 copies, sorry. Again, primarily for the Wonder Tag ability. Every once in a while, Lele is an attacker in this deck, but not very often. Wonder Tag's just great for helping you to get supporters. We play 4 copies of Alolan Vulpix, and this is our best starter because of the no energy beacon attack that lets you search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand. That a lot of times you'll get end. Sometimes you want to get end because you don't have any draw supporters. That can be nice. And most of the time when that happens, you're hoping that if you don't get end, you'll be able to get an Octillery line set up, which we'll talk about in a moment. But even if you do, you'll be okay with it because then you get new cards. Obviously, the attacker in the deck is Alolan Ninetales-GX, which evolves from Vulpix, and we play 4 copies of Vulpix, 3 copies of Ninetales. So we're sort of expecting one of the Vulpix to go down early, and that's fine. Lets us play the 7-card game, 7 prize game, and if it doesn't happen, that's fine too. But having the 3 copies is generally enough, because obviously once you lose 3 of them, you've lost the game. and they're pretty tanky with 210 HP, plus the ability to heal with their GX attack, which moves all damage counters from them onto their opponent. So you get a full heal and usually a KO. That's the way you try to play the GX. But what are the normal attacks? Well, we have Ice Blade, which does 50 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon, any one you get to choose, assuming they don't have anything like a Machoke out. And this does, even though it doesn't have a damage number over here, it does get a boost from Kukui and from the choice bands if you are attacking an active GX. So it could be up to 100 on an active GX. I guess if it was a Turtonator, you could one hit KO with an Ice Blade and a choice band and a Kukui. But the main attack that you're getting KOs with, Ice Blade sort of lets you mostly hit around the field and just kind of set up knockouts. Occasionally you can do some bench sniping, particularly if you've managed / been forced to have a Koko pave the way. But the main attack for getting knockouts is Blizzard Edge here, which does 160 damage, 190 with the choice band, 210 with the choice band and a Kukui, for 2 water energy and a colorless energy. So that's all well and good. You do have to discard 2 energy from the Pokemon when you make this attack. So usually when you use it, you want to be discarding a double colorless energy, so that the next turn you can just attach another double colorless energy or even just another water and use the attack again to get another KO. But occasionally it doesn't work out like that. And that's too bad. We play a 2/2 line of Remoraid and Octillery purely for the Abyssal Hand ability, letting you draw 5 until you have 5 cards in your hand. Usually it's pretty reliable to get 1 Octillery out. Every once in a while you'll get 2 out, but usually that's not necessary, and sometimes it means that you're not set up as well as possible. It seems like that'd be great because of the extra card draw, but if you have that much space on your bench, something's probably wrong. Expanding up into the items, we do play 4 Aqua Patches to help us set up faster, either through discarding energy, or if we manage to set up without Aqua Patches, then we can use our Blizzard Edge attack, and then immediately when we get into Aqua Patches, put the energy back onto a benched Vulpix or Ninetales. We play 2 copies of Field Blower. It's not a necessity in this deck, but it can be nice, particularly now that some decks are teching in Fighting Fury Belts. That puts them into a much harder range for KOs. So if we can knock out a Fighting Fury Belt, that's pretty helpful. We play 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher, and this is I think this is possibly the only card that I have different now from the top 8 list. They don't play any Rescue Stretchers, and I found that 1 is pretty helpful. You play 4 Ultra Balls, 4 VS Seekers, and 2 copies of Rough Seas. I used to play 3 copies, but I changed to match the top 8 list in order to fit in some other stuff. Play a copy of Brigette to get out Pokemon, 2 copies of Lysandre to get into the active what we want to try to take a KO on. We play 1 copy of Mallow, which pairs really well with Octillery. That's why it's in the deck. You get to choose basically what cards you're going to get with Octillery. You play 3 copies of N, 1 Kukui to help us hit the right numbers, 3 Sycamore for the card draw, 3 Choice Bands again to help hit the right numbers, 2 float stones, which usually go onto Octillery, but every once in a while, maybe onto a Sudowoodo or maybe onto a starter that you didn't want to start. Sometimes Lele. Then we play 4 double colorless energies and 8 water energies. And that's it. That's the deck list. For matchups, there's not a lot. I want to say this deck has a lot of sort of close matchups. There's not a lot that totally destroys us. Metagross is a horrible matchup because it hits us for weakness. Um, and I think Greninja is pretty tough because unless you can get to your Kukui and reuse it reliably, you can't even KO a Froakie without discarding 2 energy. So that's really rough. But if you can get Kukui, you can start taking KOs pretty quickly with Ice Blade. So it's a mixed bag. Zoroark Break can be kind of tough, but it's definitely winnable. You can usually outspeed them since they have to evolve multiple times and you get to search out your Pokemon. Other than that, I'd say it's fair matchups. There's very few auto wins, only like maybe Volcanion, even that isn't necessarily an auto win. But the only thing that you're doing really, really bad against is Metagross and to some extent Greninja. So with that, I think we'll wrap up for today. I guess I'll make a note about the cards that I switched out, what my old deck list looked like. So I previously had 2 copies of Dive Ball. I didn't have Mallow in there, and I think Mallow's definitely worth including. And I only played at that point 2 Choice Bands. So I think this is better because you don't have that much trouble getting your Pokemon out with Vulpix. I'm not 100% sold, but I'm 90% sold. And then, in order to play the Rescue Stretcher in this deck, I had to cut out the Karen that was otherwise in the deck, and I think that that's worthwhile because Karen's basically attack against Vespiquen, and Vespiquen isn't a bad matchup already because you can snipe Combees. With Kukui, you can do pretty good. Otherwise, they play Shaman, so you can use Lysandre and take KOs on Shaman pretty easily, and they have a really tough time KOing you. Generally, they'll get to attack into you twice before they're coming close to that KO range. Then you get to Ice Pat. So usually you're getting 2 or 3 KOs before they even get 1 KO on a Ninetales. And I don't feel like the Karen Tech is necessary. I also really kind of feel like Vespiquen's on its way out. It's so much Oricorio has been played that they aren't as popular, and also it's about to rotate. That is probably a matchup where you want to get your Tapu Koko out and do some flying flips to avoid energy discards. And I guess Tapu Koko, if you can get him out early in the Greninja matchup, is probably pretty clutch as well. So the Greninja matches I had last night were lovely in that my Kukui, Mallow, and Koko were all prized. So that's got me salty. But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. We'll see you soon.